Every time you light a cigarette, something profound happens in your brain. Within 7 seconds, nicotine crosses the blood-brain barrier and begins changing your brain chemistry in ways that most smokers don't fully understand. And here's the thing. If you understood exactly what nicotine does to your brain, if you could see the mechanism that keeps you trapped, quitting would make a lot more sense. You'd stop blaming yourself for being addicted and start understanding the actual science behind what's actually happening. So, in the next minutes, I'm going to take you inside your brain and show you exactly what. The moment nicotine reaches your brain, it immediately targets something called nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. These are specialized binding sites on your neurons that normally respond to a natural brain chemical called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is involved in muscle movement, learning, memory, and attention. It's an important neurotransmitter that your body produces naturally, but nicotine has a molecular structure that's similar enough to acetylcholine that it can bind to these same receptors. When nicotine binds to these receptors, it triggers a cascade of effects. But the most important one is this. It causes a massive release of dopamine in your brain reward center. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's not quite accurate. Dopamine is actually the wanting chemical. It's what makes you motivated, what makes you pursue things, what makes you feel like something is worthwhile. When you do something beneficial for survival, like eating when you're hungry or drinking when you're thirsty, your brain releases dopamine to reinforce that behavior. It's saying, now here's where things gets more complicated. Your brain isn't stupid. When you flood it with nicotine repeatedly, it adapts. At first, you have a normal number of nicotinic receptors in your brain, but when you start smoking regularly, your brain starts producing more receptors. This is called upregulation. Why does this happen? Because your brain is trying to maintain balance. You're constantly activating these receptors with nicotine. So your brain says, okay, we need more receptors to handle this demand. Within weeks of regular smoking, you can have millions more nicotinic receptors than a non-smoker. Millions, and all of these receptors are now waiting for nicotine. This is physical dependency. Your brain structure has actually changed. You've built more hardware that requires nicotine to function normally, but it gets worse. Not only do you have more receptors, but the receptors you have also become desensitized. They need more nicotine to produce the same dopamine response. This is tolerant. Let's talk about one of the biggest lies that keeps smokers trapped: the belief that cigarettes reduce stress. Almost every smoker will tell you they smoke to relax, to calm down, to handle stress. And in the moment, it generally feels like it's working. You smoke a cigarette when you're stressed and you feel better. But here's what's actually happening in your brain. Cigarettes don't reduce stress, they relieve the stress they created. Think about it. What makes you feel stressed when you're a smoker? Often it's the fact that you haven't smoked in a while. Your nicotine levels are dropping. Those receptors are emptying. Your brain is in a state of mild withdrawal. This creates physical tension, irritability, and anxiety. These are withdrawal symptoms, but you've been experiencing them so long that you think this is just your normal stress levels. Then you smoke, the nicotine fills those receptors, the withdrawal symptom disappeared, and you feel relief. But you weren't stressed because of your circumstances. You were stressed because you needed nicotine. Here's the crazy part. Non-smokers don't experience that constant underlying tension. They don't need nicotine to feel calm. They just feel calm naturally. As a smoker, you're creating a problem and then using cigarettes to temporarily solve it, and over and over again, it's like wearing tight shoes all day so you can experience the relief of taking them off. And it's not just about withdrawal. Nicotine actually increases your baseline stress levels. It raises your heart rate, increases cortisol production, and keeps your body in a mild. And this is exactly the kind of shift in understanding that my 14-day program is built on. When you truly see what nicotine is doing to your brain, when you understand the trap at a neurological level, quitting becomes so much clearer. If you're ready to break free from nicotine's grip on your brain, book a free call with me. The link is in the description. We'll talk about your situation and create a personalized plan to help you quit in just 14 days by rewiring your brain relationship with nicotine. You don't have Now let's talk about what nicotine does to your prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain responsible for decision making, impulse control, and long-term planning. When you're addicted to nicotine, your prefrontal cortex is constantly being influenced by the primitive reward system that's screaming for nicotine. Your rational brain knows smoking is bad for you, it knows you should quit, but it's fighting against powerful neurochemical signals that are saying, we need this now. It's like trying to have a rational conversation while someone is pulling a fire alarm. Your thinking brain is being overridden by your survival brain. This is why smokers do things that make no logical sense. You might spend money you don't have on cigarettes. You might smoke even though you're sick. You might go outside in freezing weather just to smoke. You might skip important events because you can't smoke there. Your rational brain is saying this is ridiculous, but your addicted brain is saying this is essential. And the addicted brain usually wins because it has access to more powerful neurochemical leverage. Chronic nicotine exposure also affects the prefrontal cortex development in young people. If you started smoking as a teenager, nicotine was affecting you. So let's talk about what happens in your brain when you quit. In the first 72 hours, nicotine completely leaves your system. This is when physical withdrawal is most intense. All those extra receptors are empty and demanding to be filled. Your dopamine levels are low. You feel irritable, anxious, maybe even depressed. But here's what's happening behind the scenes. Your brain is already starting to adjust. It's beginning to downregulate those extra receptors. It's starting to recalibrate your dopamine system. So after about 2 weeks, the worst of the physical withdrawal is over. You still have more receptors than normal, but they're starting to decrease. The acute physical dependency is breaking, and after a month, your brain chemistry has made significant progress. Your dopamine system is producing more dopamine naturally again. You're not relying on nicotine to feel normal. And after 3 months, those extra nicotinic receptors have significantly decreased. Your brain structure is returning to a non-addicted state. So now you know, nicotine floods your brain with dopamine, creates physical dependency by upregulating receptors, causes the stress it claims to relieve, and hijacks your decision-making processes. But you also know that your brain can heal, that every day without nicotine is a day your brain is returning to its natural, balanced state. So if you're ready to start that healing process, and you want support to get through it, click the link in the description and book your free call with me. So let's create your personalized plan to break free from nicotine in just 14 days. So subscribe for more content on like the science of addiction and how to break free from it. And remember, understanding is the first step to freedom. Thanks for watching.